Hello, everyone. Hi, thank you for joining. And we are back for the part three of the job board website. So, now if you're joining me for the first time right now, I have been building a job board website using React, where we talk about how to use React, the basics of React, how to do the styling using Tailwind CSS, this beautiful website that I have open right now. Then we have completed bits and pieces of the project, and I'm going to share a few links in the chat so that you know what we are looking at. So number one is the registration and check-in link. Seems like during the part two I shared the wrong link. So here is the correct registration and check-in link for part three. Hey Mickey, how's it going? So this is the part 3 link, and this is the final part of today's our whole journey of React. We have reached like some good milestones, and there is just one last part that we need to complete before we just say like this is a complete project. Now I've shared the check-in link, and finally this is the code from part 2. Now hopefully this should work. I have shared it in chat. So, once again, whoever has joined me for the first time and you don't know exactly what we were doing, we were building a job board website and I was using Replit. Now, I like Replit personally because just takes away the hassle of building your local dev environment. So that's why I've been using Replit a lot, especially for like all my streams actually. Okay, so let's see where we have reached till now. So if you remember my wireframe, the amazing wireframe that I had, apparently once again I was not able to save it, but this is what we have ended up with. We have a photo or an image of the company, then we have the job title, we have the company name, we had a suggestion to add remote or in person, and we have a call to action button. Now it's not here at the bottom, it's here at the top, and that's what I kind of challenged everyone, like try to bring it bottom. There were some awesome suggestions, let me tell you that. One was the easiest solution, that is add a margin top. Of course it brought it down, but the problem was when we were doing the responsiveness, it was not like perfect. And we are just going to quickly run over the code of where we have reached, how we have reached, and then we are going to dive in into tables. Now, day one I told you all that tables, it's like it sounds very easy. It is very easy, let me be like very frank, it is very easy. But then once you start getting into tables and you start adding more and more things, example like okay, I want to sort each and every column, okay, A to Z sort, the way we do in Excel or Google Sheets. I want to be able to edit the columns, like basically we want Excel. Okay, we want everything of Excel or everything of Google Sheets, and building that with React, it's just difficult. So I'm going to show you one way where you can actually build it and it would be easy. Okay, you know me, I make things easy. Whatever is the easiest way out, I take that. So without any further ado, let me quickly jump right back into, once I find where my mouse is. Yeah, finally. Replit. So this is what we had for our project. I'm going to just close a bunch of tabs and start from the source folder. So we had the app.jsx. I lost the web view. Anytime you lose something, you can just look at for it in the tools. So there should be a web view somewhere just right here. Yep, here it is. I want this to be on the right hand side. I want the console to be on the right hand side somewhere. Okay, and I want the shell to be just next to the console. Perfect. So Now we can open this website, and this is what it looks like. It's not bad, I would say. Once you add more and more data, the footer will be pushed. You know how to add spacing between two things now, so you can add a spacing on above this icon, below this icon. I did one small change once we like shut down our stream. I realized that the max width, it was like not really nice looking. Okay, so if we go into the cards, you remember this max width, it was initially 5XL, and it was fine for the purpose of our work. It was fine, but it was just like not really nice looking. I wanted more space in and around it, so I changed this max width to 7XL, and it looks better. It definitely looks better now. So that's one change that I did. Just in change the max width, and everything else just as it is. We also, so we had app.js, we made components, we made a hero component, we made a footer component, we made a card component. In the card component, we initially started by creating a variable here on the top, which we called as data for jobs. Then we learned how to map over it, and then we created a variable like each job. Look, if I hover over it, it shows me, oh, what are the parameters that it has, what are the keys, the object keys that it has. So then we took for a key where it each job dot key, then there was each job dot image, title, company name, location, and job link. And that's how we created the cards, the awesome looking cards that we have. I also realized that the title of the website, it's job board website dash part one. Now, if you join me on the first stream, you know where we changed it. We changed it in index.html. Now we can just go and change it back, change it to maybe part three. Okay, change the title. If I hover over it, now you can just see exactly what the title is now. And yeah, everything will like just kept static in a way. What I can do, and I would love to do right now, is add some more data. So I'm just going to copy paste this. So after three, let's we have the fourth one coming in, then we would have the fifth one coming in. So then this is the fourth one, and this is the fifth one. The job title, I'll change it to 4, and job title, I'll change it to 5. Well, one company can have multiple jobs, definitely. So let's keep this company name as 3 3, and let's call this as company 4, or let's call it as company 5. Okay, just to be in sync. Uh, let's say even this is an in person job role, and for the job link, what can we change it to? Mm, interesting. What should I change it to? So let's say there's MLH, and okay, we can keep this company 3 again, mlh.io. And for this last one, we can go with, mm, wow, I don't remember the names of companies right now. Let's go with github.com. And once we go on the website and I just do a quick refresh, as you can see, job title 1, job title 2, 3, 4, 5. The logos, yeah, those are still an issue. So for the fifth one, we can just go and search for GitHub logo. Go to the PNG, find a nice looking one, and open image in new tab. Once again, all the images trademarks belong to their respective owners, and just change this out. And that looks good, right? We have 5 things. We have responsiveness, like as good as it gets. Like, just look at this. Once we reached at a particular width, it becomes 2, then it becomes 1, and just looks good, right? So with that in mind, I think we are very at a very good position. Just remember that I changed one thing, and that was in the cards, I added this max width of 7XL instead of 5XL. Okay, with all that done, now let's move on to the next part. Now, the next part, uh, I would say that building a table, the tool that I'm going to use, you're going to just like love it. It's great. It's awesome. But there is a lot of boilerplate code, so you would need to like go deep into the library and just learn about everything. As a part of today's session, I'm not going to go like very deep into it or dive very deep into it. I'm just going to show you the minimal configurations that you can do to make it work out of the box. Okay, and that is what you would do most of the times, except for some or the other styling changes, I would say. But other than that, yes, that is just going to work for you out of the box. But before I go into that, quick question: anyone has any queries of what we have done till now? For anyone who's joining me for the first time, the videos are on YouTube actually. So you can go to MLH channel and you can search for the videos. You'll find them. Hopefully that would be helpful to you. But yeah, no questions. Perfect. That is great. I feel good that I'm such a great teacher. Okay, jokes aside, next thing. The thing that I'm going to do, no, not agar.io, that's a good game to play actually. But we are going to use something called as EG Grid React. Now I'm going to just say like EG Grid is the best, and you are going to say like, okay, am I selling it? Do they give me money? No, they don't. I They do not sponsor me. They do not sponsor this stream definitely. But once the product is so good, you just fall in love with it. You enjoy working with it, and they write it that they are the best JavaScript grid in the world. And I'd say they are there. Yes, they are just right there. It's not free. It's not free. Look at the fee. Okay, for single application, $999 per developer. For multiple applications, if you have multiple projects and you're using AG Grid in multiple projects, 1499 per developer. Okay, but uh, even though the this is the enterprise version, there is a community version. So there is an AG Grid community version which is free, and that suffices most of our needs, especially in any personal projects that we build. And you want to integrate table where you want to give users more and more options, the community version is just there. It's like it's helpful, it's good enough for all our personal projects that we do. Now before I go into it, I would like to give you a demo of AG Grid. Okay, look at the number of rows. Like there is a data size option. I can just share this link and you can play around with it. Okay, data size. Now in the data size, 100 rows, 22 columns. You can go for 1000 rows, 22 columns. If you go for 10,000 rows, 100 columns, look at the loading time it took. It was like a millisecond. 50,000 rows, 22 columns. Again, like maybe a second max, 2 seconds. Okay, not more than that. 100,000 rows and 22 columns. And it's not even lagging. It's not even lagging a bit. It is so good. And now comes the magic. Like there's so many options. Some of the options are in the enterprise version. So maybe I will show it to you here. Maybe they won't work out of the box, but that's fine. You can just like have a look at it. So let's say in columns, you can actually select which columns do you want. I don't want every column. I only want, let's say, the participants and the game of choice. Even though all the columns are coming in, I can select which columns do I want to display. Okay. There are so many filters. There is an option to group. Okay. Row groups. Like this is so good. Example, let's say I take country. Okay, I can drag it right here, and it just groups everything for me. So it groups like with regards to Argentina, what's it like. Okay, Belgium, again, Brazil. So whatever you choose, let's say I want all the columns, and it just updates. You can group by multiple things too. Okay, I want to group by country, and I also want to group by, let's say, rating. So I open, wait, did I, oops, yep. I think I just, sometimes I click the wrong thing and this happens. So example, let's say, let's take in the rating, and after that let's also take in the country, and I do a group by, and it has done rating for, let's say, 1 star, and then it has done a group by on country names also. Okay, the vice versa is, should be possible, hopefully. Yep, country and rating, country and rating, country and rating. It's like so sleek, it's so good. Okay, now this is what we are going to do. I mean, I can just spend time fanboying over it, but I don't want to spend too much of time here. But let's dive right into it. So we are going to get started. Okay, and it tells us a bunch of things. Step number one is, of course, installing AG Grid. Now there are two things that we need to do here. Okay, and I'm just going to increase the screen size so it's visible. Step number one is to how to to create a React app. We already have that. uh, so this step, install AG Grid community, this is what we are going to first do. So let's come back to our code, and remember the shell, our loving favorite shell. This is where we are going to come and just paste it right there, hit enter, let it install. Might take some time depending on the internet speed. This is good. It was just so quick. When I was building this lesson for you all and I was planning it out, I think my internet was just so bad. It was taking a lot of time. And I thought it was AG Grid being an issue here. Then we take the second line. So first we installed AG Grid community. Then we are installing the wrapper, the React wrapper around it, since we're building the project using React. And there are other options like Angular. Okay, so if you go for Angular, there's, if you're building, let's say, Angular, so you install AG Grid community and then you install the Angular wrapper. There's Vue and everything, but we are good with React. We are building with React, so this is what we have done. And this is the first part complete. So we have installed two packages. You can go into your package.json and you should be able to find them in the dependencies. Look at this: AG Grid community and AG Grid React, version 29.1.0, version 29.1.0. Okay, so once everyone has completed, I'm going to just wait here for exactly a minute. Let everyone complete this. The installation should be fairly quick, and if you have any questions meanwhile, just let me know. Oops. Just to quickly repeat, we are on this AG Grid React, whose link I am also posting in the chat if anyone has missed reaching here. Once you click on this link, just scroll down to getting started with AG Grid community. I should have actually put in this link. But yeah, once you reach this link, getting started with AG Grid community, install the first link. copy the first line, go over to our uh, replet, paste it there, hit enter. Then you have the second one. I should bring it here. The second one where we are installing the wrapper of AG Grid in React. And that's it. That's all that we have to do. Once that is done, remember in the morning we talked about components and we talked about how easy it is to just build components. Components are like a self-contained thing, the smallest building block for us. So I'm going to create a new one. We'll call it, let's say, table component.jsx. So table component is the new file that I am creating. The reason why am I creating this file, this is where we'll add all the code that is required for AG Grid, our AG Grid table to work outside the box. So step one, let's do it quickly. Import React from React. We are now so good at this. Then step two is define the variable name, and that should be same as the file name, just a convention. And table component, and then round brackets, empty brackets, curly brackets, then do a return, round brackets empty, and finally do a export default table component. We are getting good at this. In like so less time, everyone has learned so much about React. Perfect. So now that we have done till here, everyone should be fine, okay? Because all we do is create a file, call it something. Then this is the structure that we have been copying over for all our components, and that's what we have done. Once you have done this, now comes the difficult part. I'm joking. Uh, next step is to add AG Grid. So you do add AG Grid like this, AG Grid and React. This is what we installed from AG Grid React. Okay. So AG Grid React internally will use AG Grid, like everything about AG Grid. So that is the first step that we need to complete. Import AG Grid React from AG Grid React. Step two is let's bring our data. Let's bring in the data. So remember our data file, it was data for jobs. And remember how we imported it? We imported import data from for jobs from this. We'll do it the same way here. So we'll do an import and we'll do data for jobs from this, from dot/data for jobs. So this is what we have done till now. We have imported AG Grid React, we have imported the data file. Let's quickly console log this data so that we are able to see it. Okay, it's coming in perfectly. So we can do a console log and data for jobs. And in the return, we can just add like table. Okay, table coming here soon. Table coming here soon. Also with that, I want to keep the alignment in the same line as our cards. So I'll just copy this first line where we have margin x auto so that everything is centered, a top margin, a bottom margin, the max width, and padding on the x axis, that is left and right, uh, padding for like above small screen what should be the padding, and above large screen what should be the padding. So like we did all this in part 2 definitely, so you would remember. But if you don't, that's fine. Just check out the YouTube video on MLH website. So yep, with this, oops, I'm so sorry about that. And now let's click on this format table. Uh-oh, formatting is not working again. Most likely it's like issue on their side and not our side. Everything should work out of the box. But okay, come back to app.jsx. I am going to add the table component just below the card component. So I'm going to do table component, should have imported it first, close it out, and here just below this we can add import table component from dot slash table component. Now, if there are no spelling mistakes, you remember what happened today morning, but if there are no spelling mistakes right now, this should work. So I'm going to come here, let it reload, and let's see what happens. Yep, it's taking a bit of time, but should be fine. Let it reload. EasyGrid is big. We can put it on EasyGrid for now. And there we have it, table coming here soon. And on the right hand side in the console, you can see the data. Okay, so we have an array of objects coming in, multiple things coming in. So we are good. We are good. Reason why I wanted to see it is just to show you like we have imported the data and everything. And I'm just going to quickly reload this because seems like the formatting is not working properly. Let's see if it works now. The CPU is at max, the RAM is at max, so maybe because of that. So with that done, with that out of our way, we know that, okay, the data is coming in, so we are good to go. Okay, what's the next step? So the next step in AG Grid, you have to do something called as define the data or add the data. Finally, the formatting is working finally. Okay, so you need to add something like the row data and the column definitions. So row definitions and column definitions, these are the two main aspects of AG Grid. Okay, adding the row definitions and adding the column definitions. So how am I going to sort that in a way? How am I going to add that? So the way I can do it, like I'm going to just first show you a quick test. So we can do like const row data equals to an array of objects. Okay, and in the array of objects, I am basically going to add something very similar to what we had in data for jobs. So I'm going to add, like, let's say a key, I'll call it 1, and then the next object is going to be a name. I can call it like ut, and then that's it. So key 1 and name ut. Okay, instead of key, let's call this id. Id, bd, index, whatever it was. Let's have the second one. Oh, don't forget the comma here. So 2, and let's say this is mlh. Okay, just very simple. Two things in the row data. So this is the first thing. You define the row data, what comes in the rows. Now let's go for the second part, the column data, the column definitions more like. Okay, what are column definitions? So that is where you define what should be in each column. Okay, now I'll show that to you quickly. uh, hmm. Okay, so we create again a variable. We call it, let's say, column defs. And that is again an array of multiple things that are going to be. But there is something very common in it. So first, again, it's an array of objects. The first thing is a field. So what is the field? So the field is, you can say, it is something like what do you want to show in that particular column. So let's say field of id, that is what we are going to show in the first one. The first column should show the id. Okay, and what about the second column? What should the second column show? So we can create another object there and we can say the field would show the name. Okay, this is what all it is going to do. We have told it that I want the first column, like, hear me out carefully. We are talking about the columns. Okay, so in the column, the first column, what should the first column show? It should show ID. And that is in the row data, we have two objects there, ID. The second column should show the name. Okay, and it is going to just match this name with this field that you give it here. And now it's basically about getting in AG grid. Now I'm going to bring in AG grid and it's going to be like really simple. So yeah, should be simple, should be fine. And as we move on, we'll add more and more things to it. But for now, this should look good. Okay, so I'm going to remove this title from here and I'm going to do something. Step one, remember whenever we do something, add a wrapping div around it. Then step two, we imported AG grid. So AG grid React, we import that and it's a self-closing. There's nothing wrapping inside AG grid React. But AG grid React has a lot of things. Okay, like lots and lots of options on it. So we are going to first show the row data. What is the row data? Row data is going to be whatever the variable that we created. Then next is column definitions. So column defs. What is the column definition going to be? We have created a variable with the same name, column defs. So we can just copy paste that. And frankly, that should get us something. Okay, that should get us something. But this does not look nice. It really does not look nice. So there are two things that are missing from our imports, and it's all about getting the right CSS. Okay, the CSS should be perfect. AG Grid comes with its own CSS in a way, so you have to import that. And importing CSS files is different. So you do import and then do AG Grid community, then put a slash and then styles and then ag-grid.css. This is the first thing that you do. And let's wait for it to load. Let's wait for it to come in and let's see if there are any changes, any significant changes. So it's basically loading the CSS of AG Grid. And after adding the CSS, seems like we lost data instead of getting it. So there's the second thing that it needs. It needs something like the theme. So if you remember in the demo, so there was data size. There was a second thing of theme. Okay, multiple themes come as a part of AG Grid. You can of course build your own custom theme, but this is the most basic and like the not I would say the most used, but it's the most basic theme that comes with AG Grid, and we'll add that. So import, and it's called as Alpine. So we'll import AG Grid community slash, I think it's styles. Yeah, styles slash ag dash theme dash alpine dot css. Okay, let's see that what's happening. Now this might work, this might not work. We'll know for sure very soon. Your screen is frozen. Was it because it was loading or what? Is it visible now? Okay, perfect. So where's the data? Where did the data go? We can definitely do a console log on our code right here. So let's do that out. Let's see. Oops, formatting issues again. So let's do a console.log, and we should have the row definitions coming in, the row data coming in, and the column defs coming in. I'm curious, where did it go? Where did it all go? Yep, we have them, and it's still interesting that why is it not showing? Hmm. Okay, never mind. I feel like everything is fine and it should show, but it's not showing, which is making me like really curious right now. Okay, never mind. I will just remove the row data for now, and we'll start with the basic one initially, like the data one, and we'll come back to this. Why did it not work? We'll debug this. Maybe I think I understand. Oops, I should have been patient. So in the div just above it, I remember we should add something like an inline style. So an inline style of height, let's say 300 pixels, and width of, let's say, 100%. Just going to quickly check. Ah, there it is. Look at that. It was just hiding there in the plain sight. But we have it. So what happened? What happened? Let me quickly jump over it. Along with that, I think it's also missing. Like we have imported the theme of ag theme alpine.css, but we are not using it. So the div where we define the style, we can also add a class name equals and the theme ag dash theme dash alpine, and there it is. So as I said, I thought it should work, and why was it not working? I was like really curious. But what happened is, we imported the theme. Okay, we imported the css, we imported the theme, we added row data, we added column definitions, we added ag grid, and told it like, for the row data attribute, take this variable of row data. You can call it like row data, my row data, let's say. Okay, my row data, and my call defs. So take this my row data and add it to this one, and take my call defs and add it to this one, and this should again work, hopefully. I do a lot of experimenting. Okay, row data is not defined, something is breaking at table component of render with hooks. Now this is very important. Like even though I am experimenting with you, I understand what the issue is. And can you figure out what the issue is? Yep, the console logs. Okay, so you can give the name of the variable anything that you want. And why was I telling you this? Because instead of my row data coming in, very soon we are going to replace it with the data for jobs. Okay, and you remember the structure, it should be an array of objects. Okay, the structure is very important, array of objects. And we saw what we can give it any name that we want, and just pass that variable name to the attribute of row data, and it should work. Similarly, for column defs. Now, in the column defs, remember the field is very important. Now, instead of this field ID, let's say we call it key, and instead of name, we call it full name. Do you think it will work? No, it doesn't, because it's not able to map or like match actually, that okay, you are telling me that there is a field in the data which is called as key, but there is no field or there is no key here which is called as key. Is there a field of full name? No, it's name, it's not full name. So this is very important. What you give as the field, okay, the value in the field, they should match exactly to the keys that you have in your row data. And then even though we added that, we needed to added some styling, some inline styling here to make it big enough so that it's visible. So right now, as you can see, there is just a line coming in. So the AG theme Alpine, it gives you something, but it is not exactly uh, giving you everything. It's not, it's giving you this highlights, this background gray, and then this white and grayish alternating colors, but it's not giving you the data, it's not showing the data, because AG grid is expecting that the parent that it is wrapped inside has a height and a width, has a height and width defined. Okay, can we? Okay, and I'm just experimenting it again with you all. But if you remember, if we give a div tag here, and this is our tailwind play, and we give another div tag here, and inside this we give a h1 which says hello, and close it. And if I give a class of h dash, just wanted to see what are the height options that we have. H dash 20. Hmm. I'm not sure if this is going to work, but we can give this a try. And for width, I can say width of auto or 96 pixel. Okay, there's so many options. There is width dash fit. Okay, so I'm going to try this again. I'm not so sure if it is going to work, but we can give it a try. What I did was, instead of adding the style inline in this way, I'm seeing the table but not the data within it. Uh, After adding that CSS, the tailwind thing, okay. So if I do 20 and 20, seems like we're getting something. Okay, so I need to find the optimal height, the most optimum height that we can. Let's say if it's 2/3 and width is, I don't know if there's full. Yep, let's take height of 2/3 and width of full. Let's see if this will work. So height of 2/3, it's just useless. But width of full, I think that works. Let's do a height of 96 and see. Finally, I'm finally seeing the table. So it's good experimenting, right? We experimented with it, and we found the how to get the data and how to add the height and the width using just Tailwind. Okay. Okay, doke. So that was the first step. We added some mock data just to see what's the output, the outcome. Now let's come back, and instead of using this const myrow data, let's add the data for jobs. Okay, the variable that we have, the thing that we imported. And I told you, you can just add it to this part. Now, adding it here, even though there is no error, it just does not work. And you know the reason why. The reason is the fields. So, what fields do we have? So, let's talk about the fields that we have in the data. So, I'm going to open the data right here. So, there is a key field. So, we can add that. Okay, so field of, let's say, key. What's the next one? Image. Now image, we can show image. Yeah, right, we can show image in the table. But let's not start with that. Let's go for only the text fields. Job title. So there's a field called as job title. Let's copy paste this again, oops, this comma should have been on that line. What's the next field that we have? Company name. Company name, yeah, that is something that we can show in the table. Useful to show in the table. The next is location. Of course, once again, useful to show in the table. So that is what we are all doing right now. We are just creating a bunch of column definitions. And again, it's easy. It's really easy. And the final one is job link. Okay. Once we have created all these column definitions, just go in there and have a look. Whoa, the table is ready. Now the width, yep, that is interesting. Can we do something else? We can give it a try. Again, I'm not sure if this is going to work perfectly, but yep, it doesn't. Okay, it either needs 100% or something in between. But you can give it a try. You can definitely have a look of how we can ensure that our tailwind css shows the AG grid, or you can add the inline styles as I was saying. Okay, so we have the table rendered for us. It's a plain looking table right now. It does not do much. Can we improve this? Well, we definitely can, and that's what I'm going to do right now. So I told you that the best part of AG grid, okay, I'm just going to reload this because once again, Ripple was not exactly loading and it was not formatting. But yeah, as I was talking about, the best part of AG Grid is the functionalities that it gives. It gives you the options to sort things, it gives you the option to add a filter to it, it gives you the option to edit each and every cell. Okay. And if you think deeply about it, adding sorting, okay, the sorting of columns again should happen in columns. So there are so many attributes, and I'm going to add to it. So let's add the first one, sortable to true. Okay, and let's go here. And now if you click on key, you will see that it is getting sorted. If I increase the size a bit, look at this, 1 2 3 4 5 and 5 4 3 2 1. It's changing, but I cannot sort job title yet. So all that I have to do, okay, now that you know the answer to this question, sortable, add sortable to true in all the column definitions. So that should solve it. Now if you go on any of the column headers, it's sortable, and it made it that easy, just that easy. What's next? Now I want the ability to be able to, let's say, filter the data. Okay, filter. Yeah, the answer is right there. Filter to true. Now I can take this, paste it everywhere, paste it for this one. We'll sort the formatting later. We'll solve the formatting later. But filter to true. That should give us the ability to filter. Now, if you hover over it, you'll see these three lines, and you can do filtering. So let's say I want to filter and only show remote positions. Well, that's available to you. Okay. I only want to show, let's say, MLH. That's available to you. Out of the box, you can do like multiple filtration on any column. Okay, multiple filtration on any column that you want. How great is that? At the same time, you can do sorting. Like if we had more data, you could also see that sorting happens. And if you want to remove anything, just remove it. Okay, just remove these options. Along with that, there is like so many options. Contains, not contains. You can do like the opposite of filter. Does not contain, let's say, MLH, then it will show me these things. Okay, what are there's equals, there's not equal, there's starts with, let's say it starts with C. Nothing starts with C. Definitely starts with H. Everything starts with H. Starts with HTAP. Nothing starts with HTA. Okay? So starts with, ends with. Exactly, such a simple solution. Let's say I just want to end with .com. Gave me the answers. .io gave me the answers. Okay, and you can do multiple. So ends with dot, let's say .o, not .o, sorry, .io, and contains, let's say, okay, I think I should add some more data for this to be like really good. I can go back and let's say add some fictitious company right here. So instead of 5, we'll go with 6, and the image would be just something random. Why is this giving an error? Yeah. Let's say this is called a 6, company name 6, and .io, and starts with, let's say, instead of HTTP, it starts with just the name. Not a real company, just to show you the power of EasyGrid. So we have added ends with .io. We can do a and contains, or maybe we can do an and starts with H, or start with just G. You're getting me? Like, this is great. This is just awesome. Okay. AG Grid just handles it for you. Everything out of the box. And this is just the community version. Just think about the things it can do in enterprise version. Okay, enough fangirling on this. uh, Perfect. What are the other options that we can add? I'll try to format this. Yep, thankfully it got formatted. So we added sortable, we added filter. There is, let's say, one more thing that you can do. You can do something like editable. Okay, editable. Editable. Yep. I just need to ensure that I'm not losing my spellings here. So editable, what is happening? So right now, if I, let's say, click on any cell, it gets selected, but I'm not able to edit it. Okay, I'm not able to like change the value inside it. I added editable to the first one, and now you can just edit it. That's all you have to do. Add editable true, and that's what we are going to do for. Oops, should not have copied the comma. Editable true, and editable true. Perfect. Just formatting it, removing this extra console log that we had here. Now let's come to it. Let's reload this so that we start fresh. And job title 1, let's say this is front end dev. Okay, job title 2, this is, let's say, back end dev. Spelling mistake, spelling mistake. If you edit things in table, does it have any? So if, let's say, I edited this, if for it to have impact, if I reload it, it should stay, but it does not. So even though we are editing it, we are not saving it. Okay, for doing that, you can create a function. Okay, let's say on cell edit, you can create a function called as on cell edit, and you can then tell it to change the data inside the JS file. So right now it's not happening, but I gave you the solution right there, like on cell edit. Have a look at this. Okay, documentation is like really, it's good. It's good. Uh, there's just like sometimes you'll find text and you would feel like, okay, I'm not exactly getting the answers, but it has a lot of things. Okay, perfect. Now everything becomes editable right there. Okay. Now, after all these things, and since AG Grid understands what you're trying to do and it is giving you that ability, it's still a good idea to actually add these attributes. Okay. Add these attributes. So when I say add these attributes, what I mean is We have column, we have row data, we have column defs, and you can tell it that you know enable sorting. Now, sortable true gives us the ability to sort, but for anyone who's looking at your code, or let's say for any future reference, you can do like enable sorting to true, which basically means that okay, sorting has been enabled. It does not impact the way your uh, table is rendered. This is more like for future proofing. Okay, like let's say tomorrow something changes, but if you have the attribute written here, it will understand that okay, you want to enable sorting here. You can also do enable filter, uh, filter or filtering, I'm not sure, but yeah, filter to true. You can do what else is there? Oh, like, did not show you pagination. Okay, so pagination, if you say like I want pagination to true, and after that, wait, something happened. Oh, finally, okay, pagination to true, and you can do a pagination page size. Okay, and let's say you say that I want 10 things on my page. Look at this bottom thing, there are only 6 things, so there's one page. uh let's again try this out. I want 4 things on the page. Now there are 2 pages, page 1, page 2. How cool is that? So we have added pagination, and we just had to do one thing, pagination true. That's it. That is it. Okay, really. And you can, the pagination page size, it defines how many things should be shown on like that one page. Okay, you can think of it as one page right here. What else is there? Mm, enable cell text selection. So that is for this editable. Okay, so you can do enable text, cell text selection, which, and you set it to true. Again, this is for future proofing. You can also do enable cell editing. Okay, that apparently that option is not in the latest one, so we can we, yeah, we don't want that definitely. But yeah, that's mostly it. You can define like so many things around it. Header height, how much do you want? Let's say I wanted 40. You can define the row height, uh, row height, again 40. Mm, I mean, bunch of things. Okay, bunch of things. You can do that, and that is actually the end of. Can we stretch the inside of the table to fill the box it's in? Yes, we can. Yes, we can. The question is, what would you need to change in Tailwind? Now, even though I have shown you AG Grid, I did not exactly show you the power of Tailwind there. Okay, that how Tailwind can help you do all this in a way. So I would say, so even in the last one, the last session that I took, I left some things as homework, and there was one other person who was in chat in the stream, and they contributed to it. And that is what I'm going to kind of request again here. If you have never opened a pull request, and if you want to contribute to a project, this is the time. Find things that you can improve in this particular project and open a pull request, send that in. I would be very happy to merge it. It would show good or great on your profile, and the code that I have is open source already. You can find it on Replit, and I'll also put it on GitHub. So there's one nice suggestion right there. Can we stretch it to fill the whole table? Leverage the power of Tailwind to style it. Okay, right now we are using the theme of Alpine that comes from AG Grid. But other than that, I would say leverage the power of Tailwind. So, with that, I'm going to take a pause here. Any questions, anyone? You just saw like such a simple solution. Mickey also commented such a simple solution, and it's a great solution, right? It just helps out like for everything that you want. Any questions, anyone? Feels like I'm waiting, I'm waiting, I'm waiting. Perfect. That's great to hear. Now, this actually ends our React session. We are done with the React. We are done with the Build a Job Board website. You see how simple it was. Now it's all about what text you put, what's the styling that you do. Use Tailwind, use Play.Tailwind, use this rough design from Google Keep, use AG Grid, and you can actually build a job board website which just displays all the jobs. There's so many out there. Why not add yours to the mix? Maybe you will have some different kind of jobs coming in. And you can leverage the power of what we learned today. And instead of just job boards, you can just show anything that can come inside a card, and anything that come in a table. Show that. Okay, show that, build that. Examples can be, instead of a job board which is like very vast, focus on one thing, like let's say doctors in your area, or maybe social service organizations in your city. Make cards for them, make like tables for them. And anyone who wants to contribute to a social service organization, they can come to your website, see all the cards with all the information. Instead of a job link, it would take to their website or their Instagram page. In the table again, these features, once you are using it, and if someone comes, oh, I want to sort it by this thing, I want to sort it by that thing, I want to sort it by uh, the name of the organization, sort it by location, all those things would be leveraged by this. So that kind of ends our this session, but I'm going to take a break. After break, we are going to come back and we are going to learn Python. And why am I going to teach Python? Well, because building the site is one part, adding the data, that's the difficult part. That's like the next part. So, one way to add data is find it from the other websites, scrape it from other websites. Now, once again, I would say that please read the terms and conditions of each and every website before you start scraping them. You might get banned, your IP might get banned. It's illegal on some websites, it's illegal in some countries. So, please read the terms and conditions. But for today's project, I am going to use a website which allows web scraping, and we are going to build it for educational purpose. So that's fine. And it's a simple part of code. I have done it in the past. So maybe you have watched it, but I'd still love if you stick around and just have a quick look once again. Whatever we learn from that, you can leverage that for this job website. So you can leverage how to scrape data from website, and then build your array of objects and add the data there. Okay, so, and yeah, other than that, the Python, because Python is great, that's why we want to learn it. So I'm going to take a quick 10 minutes break here, and then we are going to be back after 10 minutes, and we are going to learn web scraping using Python. So don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. And if you have any questions, please feel free to put it in chat. I'm monitoring the chats. I should be able to answer. Okay. Quick 10 minutes break. Well, and I'm back. Perfect. So seems like there are no questions about what we have done. Remember my suggestion. My suggestion is that I'll put it on GitHub. Okay. I'll also tell you the repository I'm going to put it on. Okay. You can find everything in this particular repository which I am maintaining for our GHW streams. Let me share that quickly in chat. Perfect. So on in this particular repository, I am maintaining every code that I do. I'll put all the React code that we have done as a separate folder. So as you can see on the repository on GitHub, you can see that I have bunch of things. I have data analysis GHW, intro to HTML CSS GHW. I'll have the new build a job site with React GHW, a new folder coming in where I'll have all the code that I did for React, like basically all these things going into that folder. And there were a bunch of suggestions here, like how can we make sure that this table just takes up the full width and just looks better. Definitely I had a suggestion of leverage tailwind. Maybe have a look at it. You could improve the header, the hero section, add some spacing here and there, instead of uh, just having a background. You can actually add an image in the background. The footer, add some padding, add some spaces. All these things you could do by sending a PR, sending a pull request on GitHub. This would be an opportunity for everyone if you want to contribute to some open source projects which are easy, as well as just help the community, because what you do today is going to help someone who comes looking for something. Okay. Shout out to Tartik for updating so many things, sending in a PR and updating so many things for data analysis GHW. Okay, so moving on. As I said, I'm going to talk about Python scraping, web scraping. Now, why web scraping? Interestingly, uh, the reason is that how do you add more data? Okay, how do you ensure that this data for jobs.js does not have just six jobs, okay, or it does not have just six ngos? You want more and more data coming in, and one way to get data is by scraping. Once again, please read the terms and conditions before you do anything. uh, okay, so I'm going to use a website called as ToScrape, I think. ToScrape. And this is a web scraping sandbox. What it means is they allow you, or they tell you, they please feel free to scrape this website. What is scraping? Scraping is basically, in a way, it's telling, writing a piece of code which goes on the website. It goes to a particular URL and it copies and pastes data into a file of your choice, and you tell it specifically, okay, I want data of this particular thing, I want data of this particular thing, and it does it for you. So the website that we are going to scrape is codes.toscrape.com. Okay. Now, in the past, I have done scraping previously, but I just wanted to give a very quick overview over it once again. Okay, just do it quickly, and anyone who has never joined me previously, they'll get some idea. But I have done some detailed videos. So if you go on the MLH YouTube channel, search for web scraping with Python, and you can find me. You can find the videos that I have there of the previous live streams that I have done, and they would be helpful to you. Okay. So with that in mind, let's get started with scraping. Now, as you know, I just love Replit. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to close that one, and I'm going to go to templates, and I'm going to search for Python this time. So if anyone wants to follow along, please go back to Replit homepage, go to templates, search for Python. The first one is what we are looking for. Click on the use template. 22.8 million people have used this. This is just great. So we can call it as web scraping with Python GHW, and a description, a quick description: web scraping in with Python, sorry, with Python. Uh, Quick tutorial. Okay. Remember day one, I told you why I write descriptions nowadays. The last time I did not do it, I just lost my own code. I just deleted it without even looking at it. I regret it every day. Okay, so for web scraping, there are a bunch of things that you can use, and I'll keep referring that in one other video that I have made. There are two different tools that I have used, but for scraping this particular website, codes.toscrape.com, which is a sandbox, they want us to scrape this. They are telling us that you can feel free to scrape this. So for scraping this website, I'm going to use something called as Beautiful Soup. Okay. Okay, there are so many links, but I want to go for the Beautiful Soup documentation. Yep, that was the first one, crummy. So Beautiful Soup documentation. Uh, if you just like even go through this, you'll find that okay, it's fairly very easy, and in a way, the first few lines that we see, these are all that that are required to just get started quickly. Okay, get started quickly with Beautiful Soup. So yeah, one way to install it is pip install Beautiful Soup 4. Okay, that's how you install Beautiful Soup. Let me just make it slightly bigger so that it's easy to read. And yeah, and then for making the soup, to parse a document, pass it to Beautiful Soup constructor, and you just do this first line, then these few lines, and then this, and you already have everything coming in. So that's what we are going to do. So once we have created our files, and now we are going to scrape it. So step one is add install Beautiful Soup. So now in the past being like let's say an hour ago, not even an hour ago, half an hour ago, when we were installing AG Grid, what we did was we did npm install and then something. Now here we can just do from bs4 import Beautiful Soup, okay, which is the first line in the documentation. That's what we're going to use, and that's what I basically in a way pasted. Now Replit is so amazing, or it just so understands it. What it does is it is going to read your file, and if this library is not installed, okay, because right now as you can see there are a bunch of libraries installed but not Beautiful Soup, it is going to install it for you. So if you click on run, which we will definitely very quickly, you it will first install everything that you tell it to. So that is something that we need to do. The second thing that we need to do is import requests. Okay, now what is requests? Requests Python documentation, we can read about it. So request is an elegant and simple HTTP library for Python built for human beings. So it's for us, not for the robots. It's for us. And what it does, it allows you to send HTTP requests extremely easily. Okay. So what does that mean? So whenever we go to a particular website, let's say when we went to this particular website, okay, request, we actually send a request. Okay, we send a request to this, and it brought back some data. Okay, we are sending in a request and it is bringing back data. That is what request means. Send something, and see, it has a status of 200. So we send a request from this to this URL, and the method was get. Okay, get that particular thing, and thus it returned a status code of 200, which means it was successful. See this nice green button, like icon there, emoji there. It's successful. Okay, this one was not complete, it was blocked, but this one is complete, and it just got us this whole page, this particular page. So we need a request because we want to send a request to this particular website. So that's why we need import requests. Okay, now the next step is, where do you which page do you want to request? So we can create a variable. So in JavaScript you do const and let, in Python you just write the name. So we'll create a variable, and it understands, it's dynamic, it understands what you are writing. So this is the variable, and we say that okay, the URL is http codes.toscrape.com. Okay, and then we can do, which is what they say here. They say request.get, and you give the URL to it, right? So that is what we are going to do again. Oops, sorry, someone at the door. Yep. So yeah, request.get, and you pass the URL. The auth is not really necessary because this is like, if you want to send in a username and a password, this website is fairly simple. You don't have to send a username or password to it. So that's all that we are going to do. We are just going to do a requests dot get, which is again in their first line of documentation. So that's what we are going to do, and we can call this whole thing a page. Okay, so we'll do a requests dot get and the URL, and we can then print out what comes out. So print page. Now let's run this big green CTA button. Let's click on it. And as I told you, it's going to install everything for you. It's going to read through your file, read through your code, and if it does not find something, it's going to install it for you. So let's wait for it, and let's see what happens. And it ran, everything ran perfectly, everything ran fine, and this is what we received, a response of 200, which means it was successfully able to fetch the page, right? So now comes the next part. Once you have the page, once you have the page coming in, once you have the HTML page coming in, let's go to Beautiful Soup. What does Beautiful Soup say? So Beautiful Soup says something like, uh, give it a HTML page and tell it what type of parser do you want to use. So parser is basically defining a way, or telling it that, hey, this is a HTML page, use the HTML way of reading it. You can also do something like XML parser, where you tell it that, okay, this is a XML page. What is XML? You can read about it, extensible markup language. And you tell it, okay, use XML parser. So parser is basically a way to tell it what is this website, what is the page going to be. You can also do something like, so I'll print and I'll do print page dot text, and let's see what this returns. And look at this. This is what is returned from the website. And line one, it tells us what is the type. It tells that it's a doc type HTML. Okay. So that's how we know that it's a HTML page or a HTML file coming in. So we'll create a new variable. Let's call it soup. And that is equal to, which I'm exactly copying from the documentation. Beautiful soup. Okay, and this whole thing. So let's copy this. I'll copy it so that you know that it's not very difficult. But instead of this thing, this is where they are defining the HTML. We know that we can do page dot text, and that will ensure that, okay, this is going to do something, or beautiful soup is going to render it or parse it. So I'm going to just print it out very quickly to see what happens. So if you remember page.text, okay, it was nicely formatted and everything. So page.text, it was a proper HTML, okay, nice formatting and everything, things going in, out. So it's basically HTML, but once you have passed it through beautiful soup, it becomes kind of a plain text file, okay, a plain text file. Everything just goes away. It's as good as a text file because beautiful soup has parsed it, understood it, and it knows, okay, this is HTML. Now let's go to the website and let's talk about what I want, what exactly I want. So first thing that I want from this website is I want these quotes, okay, these codes, this like the world as we have created, it's our choices, there are only two ways to live your life, and all these things, these are the codes. So I want these codes from the website. So if I want that, I can first create codes. uh, hmm. But before that, actually, I think it's better to understand what is going to come from this website. So let's hover over it. So you can click on this select option and click on this one card. Remember what is a card? We looked all about cards today. So this line, this div class call dash md dash 8, it selects everything. But if I want just one particular card, it is this line. And as you can see, if I just hover over it, you can see what is being selected, right? And what is common among them? They're like a lot of things common, but the class name of quote, that is also common among each and every card that we have right here, right? So that's what we are going to do. I'll create a variable, let's call it quote author uh, tags, okay. Quote author tags. Why quote author tags? Because I want the quotes, of course. I also want who is the author, and I also want the tags that it has. And all these three things are inside this particular class. How am I so sure? If I expand it, you can see the first one, this is what is selecting the code. Then this span, this is what is selecting the author name. And then this div of class tags, this is what is selecting each and every tag. So I want these three things, and each of them are inside this particular class of code. So that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a variable code author tags, and I'm going to say like soup. What is soup? Soup is our this thing that basically made a HTML into a text. So soup dot find all, find all, where class underscore. Now class is again a reserved keyword in Python. uh, we had a discussion about reserved keywords in JavaScript today morning, and now we are facing the same thing. So class is a reserved keyword in Python, invalid syntax. So In Beautiful Soup, it's called as class underscore. And inside this, you can define what is the class name. So if you know about HTML, and even if you don't, just like listen to me because I can tell you. There are two things. There are class and then there is ID. Okay. So instead of class, there is something called as ID that can exist, or there is a class that can exist for any particular uh, HTML tag. So a div can have a class of code, it can have an ID of code. So these are different attributes of a HTML tag. So we are using this class, and instead of writing class, because class is a reserved keyword, we do class underscore. You can find more about it in the documentation, of course. Okay, wherever, like, search about it, Google about it, class underscore, and everything. You will find it. Just like take some time to search. But Googling is the best way to find answers, definitely. Look at this. Yeah. Searching by CSS class, find all, and class underscore. Okay. Class underscore. This is important. So yeah, that's how we find all the things that have this particular class, all the div elements that have this particular class of code. And let's print it out quickly. And let's run this. Look at this. It returned us everything where the div class is code and everything inside that. Okay, so it returned us the first one, then it returned us, like, the first one ends here because there's a comma right here. Okay, there's a small comma. I don't know if it's visible on screen. Then we have the second one, then third one, and like there will be more and more and more. Okay, so yeah, we have found every div tag which has the class of quote, and we have printed that. Now once you have that, now what is this? This has a square bracket. In the morning we saw square brackets are arrays. uh, Even in this format, even here in Python, these are arrays, or you can say lists. Okay, so if it's an array, you can do a for loop over it. So let's do a for each q, you can say for each quote author tag in. Okay, so we are creating a variable for each quote author tag in quote author tags. Okay, this s is very important. So for each quote author tag in quote author tags. Now in Python we don't have what do you call brackets to define where a variable where a for loop starts, where it ends. We have indentation. So these spacings are very important. Okay, so once you add a colon and you hit enter, you'll find there's some spacing right here. This is very important. It is as good as bracket. So first thing, for each code author tag, I'll first find the code. Okay, so for each code. Now, each code author tag, let's go to the website and see if I just want this particular code. So I can do a select, click on it, and it has something like span class of text. Okay, it has a class of text. Now you know how to get things from a class. You can do dot find. Now what do you do, a find or a find all? That's a trick question right here. What would you do? So to find all the divs, we did a find all. Here, are we going to do a find or are we going to do a find all? I'm going to wait for 5 more seconds if anyone wants to answer. and then I will move. So we'll do a find. So what is the difference? So find all basically finds us everything, all the divs. Yeah, perfect. But we'll do a find because this is each, this is the key. Okay. The key thing is like instead of doing all uh, looping over everything, we are going to loop over one particular div, the containing div. Remember, there is a containing div of code. So we are going to wrap over the containing div of code, and it is going to have one class of text. Okay. So that is what we are going to work here. So we are going to do a find, and we are going to, yes. And once we want to find everything, so the first find will get me this. But since it's a loop, it's also going to then go over this next div and it's going to get me this. Then it's going to go over next one and get me this. But it this loop is going to do it for us, this outer loop. So I don't need to do a find all inside. So find, and we can do a class underscore. And what is the class of this that gets me the text? It's called as text. Wow, nice. So dot class and equals to, it's called as text, and I can actually print that out first. So let's print it out. Oopsie doopsie. Let's run this and let's see what happens. So here it got me everything, but it got me the whole of the span. Okay, this span, this span, this span. I really need just this text. I don't want the span class, this HTML that comes with it. So to get only the text, we can do a dot text. Okay, let's again run this. And there we have it. We have everything on this particular page. Okay, which like all the codes. Let's go for the next one. I hope you're getting an idea what am I doing here. I am basically taking in what we have here. Okay, I'm basically taking that in on the website. I'm like legit clicking on it, finding what is the class name or the ID name. I'm putting that here on beautiful soup, on this scraping, and it's getting me everything. Now after code, I want the author. Okay, so again, author, not author. Author equals to, once again, we are, yep. So for getting the author, let's hover over it, and yep, this is it. So if we get class equals author, I think that should be helpful. Let's try that out. Let us try that out. So once again, we'll go into each code author tag dot find, and find for a class underscore equals to author. And let's run this. Okay, I'm not doing anything, I'm not printing anything. So even if it runs, we'll never know for sure what happened. So I'll do a print right here. And it got me everything. But remember what we do? We do a dot text. So that should get me the author. Perfect. So now we have the code and we have the author. The next thing that we need is the tags, right? So once again, let's use HTML and click on it. So for the tag, now this is a little bit tricky, but I am sure we'll be able to solve it. So why is it tricky? So there is a class, a containing div, which we kept making today morning. There's a containing div of class tags, but inside that there is a class of tag, class of tag, class of tag, class of tag. Now, if I do a find, like a dot find, it is going to find just one tag. I will need to do a find all, right? I'll need to do a find all definitely. because we don't have one with class of tag, we have so many. Okay, I hope you're understanding this. What is happening here is, when we were doing a find, we were finding only one thing. But now, if I do a find, it will only return me one tag, and I want all these four tags. So I'll need to do a find all. But if you keep looking at this, and you'll find the solution actually that I implemented. Okay, just look at this closely. There is a change written here, and there is a change written here. Deep thoughts, thinking, thinking, world, world. So instead of going towards the find all with the class name of tag, we can go for this meta where the class is keywords and we need this content. Okay, the content has all the tags that we actually need. So we are going to leverage that. We are going to play smart here. So we are not going to do a find all, we are going to just play smart, and we are going to get all the tags from something. So we can call this as, now this is not a single tag, it's tags. So multiple tags. So I'm very peculiar about this. So dot, so each quote author dot. Now for this first one, class keywords, we need the content out of it. For the next one, let's go to another one. Does that have? Yes, class keywords has the content. So basically for every div, okay, there would be a meta with class keywords where the attribute content is what we are interested in. Okay, so we can do a dot, and we can do a find, and we can go like class underscore equals keywords, keyword or keywords, keywords. Yep, we need this particular class, so I'm going to put that. But we also need the particular attribute of it. We need the particular attribute called as dot content. Okay, so to get a particular attribute, you do a square bracket and then you write that whatever attribute. So when I say attribute, I mean in this particular meta tag, the class keyword is what is going to get me this particular line, and inside that, if I do a square bracket of content, it is going to get me this. So let's print it out and see what happens. And it got me everything. Perfect. And I did not even need to do the dot text. Why? Because, well, the content is actually the text. Okay. So with these things in mind, we are actually kind of done. Yeah, we are done with scraping. We learned how to scrape a website, and it's just so simple. Just these lines, and you can scrape a website. Of course, there are so many problems that come with scraping, and you need to make things dynamic and stuff. But we'll come to it in some other session, definitely, but not a part of this session. Now, one final thing that I want to show you before we jump off of this call is, I have got the data, but I do not want to do a print. I want to store the data into a separate file. So let's do that. So we can use something called as CSV. So CSV, now this is interesting. CSV Python documentation. Let's see if we can find that particular. Yep. Yeah. There's so many things. We are using CSV. So you can read about it more in the documentation, but import CSV. Where do we use it? So for a CSV, you can think of it again, once again, uh, as an Excel. Think of it from visualize AG grid that we did today. There is a header, and then there are like rows, columns. Okay, column header, and then you have what comes inside each row, each column. Okay, what data comes in. So a CSV needs to have first the first header, the header row, or where you define what is the title of each row, and then it needs to have all the data coming in definitely. So let's do that. So with CSV, you can like since I know the syntax, since I've done it, I will do it that way, but I'll talk about it. So with, okay, so with, you can think of with as like kind of uh, kind of a for loop, okay, kind of being the keyword here. Like with open is one way to say, like, use this thing, use this particular thing. uh okay, let me think of an example which explains it better. Hmm. Okay, you can say that with is like it checks whether this thing is going to happen or not. If it's exceptional handling, yeah, that would be the best way to say it. Exception handling. So with allows you to actually check for exceptions in code. It allows you to basically check, like, with this being present, then do this, with that being happening, like do that. So, yeah, all those stuff. So with, and we are now saying open a file. I will call it as scraping dash hub dash one dot csv. You can call the file anything you want. You can call it, let's say, quotes. Okay, the website that was, okay, not the spelling. Yeah, quotes dash hub dot one dash one dot csv. And what do you want to do now in this? We don't want to override data, we want to append. So as you can see, so with open, you need to first define what is the file name, then you define the mode. There are multiple modes, either you append to it or write over it. You can, yeah, like override it, add to it, delete it, all those things are there, but we are going to append to this, and we'll create a temporary variable. You can call it as temp log. So here we are saying, like, open this, and we are adding the with because that allows us to do something like exception handling, where if this is not possible, if this statement fails or something, it is going to give us beautiful errors. Yeah, I mean, it's not just going to crash everything. Crash and burn is not going to happen. And next we use what we added. So CSV dot writer. So this is a method or a function on CSV which allows you to define where do you want to write. Okay, where do you want to write, and then you define dot write row. So dot write row basically takes in an array where you define what are the titles of your row. So let's say the first quote, this is the title, the header, the first header. Then what else is there? Now there's quotes, there is not quotes, it's quote. There's quote, there's author, and then there is tags. So these are our header titles, the titles that we need to have at the top. Let's run this and look here. It created the file and it created quote author tags as like three things on top. Next, let's go in here. Now, what I'm going to do is going to look bad, but interestingly, I have not received a PR for this yet. So once again, this is the opportunity where you can basically make this better. Why would I say that? Like, let me just show that to you. Now what's the name of the file? So on line number 9, we define the header. Okay, we define what comes at the top. Now on line number 19, we are now actually defining that please write, okay, please add data to this. So we again do the same thing as line number 8. We do with open and whatever, and as temp log, where we define a variable. And now we do a CSV dot writer, write where, write it to this particular variable, which is basically the name of our file. So as templog basically tells it that, okay, this is the name of the file. And then again, we do a write row. So for every row, we do a write and we define the variables. Now, remember, whatever is the header, you want that data to go inside it, like under it. So quote and then author and then tags. So quote is this variable, author is this variable, and tags is this variable. So the variable should be properly coming in, okay? One below the other. Now let's do a like run this, and here we have it. We have the CSV file coming in, and as you can see, this first line, this ran twice because we ran it for the first time and then we are doing an append, remember? So when we are doing an append, it is adding to it. Okay, it's repeating things which we don't want. So that's the challenge for you. What can we do better here so that it appends? Now we cannot do an overwrite, of course, because what will happen is it will go over it. It will run the for loop and it would write the first row, the row of data, and then it is going to overwrite it again, which is what we don't want. Okay, so yep, with that we can just like run it quickly again and we'll have the whole thing. Let's go over codes dash hub dash one.csv and we have everything coming in. Congratulations, we have learned web scraping. Okay, so finally, any questions, anyone? None. Perfect. So thank you so much everyone for joining in. We did React, we did Python, we learned web scraping. Uh, you can go on MLH YouTube to find my previous tutorial. So thank you so much once again for joining in. Thank you everyone for all the love that you're showing in the comments. And now I'm going to just pop off from here and you're welcome to be in the next stream that we have. Okay, please remain and join us for the next stream. Thank you so much. See you all. Bye bye.